There is an airport in Saudi Arabia that is larger than the entire country of Bahrain. It has its own mosque that seats 2,000 people, its own residential community, its own plant nursery covering 2.3 million square feet. And yet, on most days, it is almost completely empty. 776 square kilometers of tarmac, terminals and taxiways, handling fewer passengers per year than a medium-sized regional airport. This is the world's largest airport, and its story is one of the strangest in the history of aviation. But size is not always measured in land, because on the other side of the world, China built something that may be even more extraordinary. A terminal the size of 97 football pitches, designed by one of the greatest architects who ever lived, built by 40,000 workers in just 5 years, and engineered to survive a magnitude 8 earthquake, with a high-speed railway running beneath it at 250 kilometers per hour. 2 airports, 2 records, 2 completely different stories about what it means to build big. This is Big Things Explained. King Fahd International Airport sits in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia, 31 kilometers northwest of the city of Dammam. It opened for commercial flights on the 28th of November, 1999, and the moment it opened, it held a record that no airport has come close to challenging since. At nearly 300 square miles, 776 square kilometers, King Fahd International Airport is the largest airport in the world by land area, a footprint that very nearly matches the area of all 5 boroughs of New York City combined. Let that sink in for a moment. New York City, home to 8 million people, 5 airports, countless skyscrapers, takes up roughly the same amount of land as a single airport in the Saudi desert. The airport is larger than the entire country of Bahrain, yet only around 5% of its total area is actively used for aviation purposes. The rest is desert, buffer zones, empty land reserved for a future that has not yet arrived. To understand why King Fahd Airport exists, you need to understand the eastern province in the 1970s. This was the heart of Saudi Arabia's oil industry, home to Saudi Aramco, the largest oil company in the world. A region generating unimaginable wealth and attracting business travelers from every corner of the globe. The idea for the airport arose in the 1970s as the existing Beijing International Airport was becoming insufficient to meet the region's growing commercial and military needs. The site master plan was created by architecture firm Yamasaki and Associates, the same firm responsible for the original World Trade Center in New York, in collaboration with Boeing, a partnership that ensured both architectural innovation and technical expertise in aviation. Planning began in 1976. Construction started in 1983. And then something happened that nobody had planned for. In August 1990, Saddam Hussein's forces invaded Kuwait. The United States and a coalition of 34 nations began assembling the largest military deployment since the Second World War. They needed a base. They needed it fast. And King Fahd Airport, still under construction, was exactly what they needed. Construction of the airport had begun in 1983. The basic infrastructure was complete by the end of 1990, allowing coalition forces to use the airport as a staging base. American A-10 Thunderbolt ground attack jets lined the taxiways. C-130 transport aircraft landed around the clock. The airport that had been built for commerce became, for 1 year, one of the most important military installations in the world. Operation Desert Storm launched from Saudi soil in January 1991. Coalition forces drove Iraqi troops out of Kuwait in 100 hours. And when it was over, the airport returned to its original purpose. It was officially inaugurated for commercial use in 1999, when the first commercial flight took off from King Fahd International Airport. The largest airport on Earth had been born from war. Walking through King Fahd International Airport is a strange experience. The scale is enormous. The spaces are vast. The architecture is beautiful, a seamless blend of modern aviation design and traditional Islamic motifs. The airport features a dedicated royal terminal, a 25,000 square meter facility reserved exclusively for the Saudi royal family, visiting heads of state and VIPs. It connects directly to aircraft via 4 boarding bridges. A separate general aviation terminal serves Saudi Aramco exclusively, used to transport the oil company's employees to and from its facilities. The airport's in-flight catering facility produces 8,000 meals per day for departing aircraft. And in perhaps the most remarkable detail of all, King Fahd International Airport has its own plant nursery, covering 2.3 million square feet, which grows the trees and plants used to landscape the airport grounds. It is not just an airport. It is a self-contained world. And yet, for all its scale, King Fahd handles only around 9.7 million passengers annually, placing it outside the global top 100 for traffic volume. The world's largest airport is also, in aviation terms, one of the quieter ones. But there is another way to measure the world's largest airport. Not by land, by the scale of what was built and the ambition behind why it was built. And by that measure, the title belongs to Beijing. In September 2019, China unveiled something the aviation world had never seen before. Beijing Daxing International Airport, designed by the legendary Zaha Hadid architects, features a terminal covering 700,000 square meters, making it the largest single-building terminal in the world. The size of 97 football pitches, all under one roof. It was named the Starfish because of its shape. 5 long concourses reaching out from a central hub, like the arms of a sea creature spreading across the Chinese plain. And from the air, it is breathtaking. The story of how Beijing Daxing was built is almost as extraordinary as the building itself. Construction began in 2014, with more than 40,000 workers on site at its peak. The cornerstone was laid on the 26th of December 2014 in open countryside 46 kilometers south of central Beijing. Not even 5 years later, on the 25th of September 2019, it opened its doors. 5 years. 700,000 square meters. 40,000 workers. For context, the Sydney Opera House took 14 years. The Burj Khalifa took 6 years. Beijing Daxing took 5 years and is 6 times the size of the Sydney Opera House. The terminal building contains 8,000 rooftop windows and 8 giant C-shaped columns, each with a 106-meter-wide skylight at the top, flooding the interior with natural light. More than 1,150 anti-seismic pillars were built beneath the structure, enabling it to withstand an earthquake of up to magnitude 8, making it the world's largest single anti-seismic structure. And in an engineering achievement that stands alone in aviation history, Beijing Daxing is the world's first airport to have a high-speed railway, a subway, and airport express trains all running beneath the terminal building itself. The trains pass at 250 kilometers per hour directly under the departures hall. The architect behind the Starfish was Zaha Hadid, one of the most celebrated architects of the 20th and 21st centuries. Born in Baghdad, trained in London, the first woman to win the Pritzker Architecture Prize, the Nobel Prize of Architecture. She designed buildings that seemed to defy physics, structures that flowed and curved in ways that straight lines could never achieve. Beijing Daxing was her final masterpiece. She died in 2016, 3 years before it opened. Her design was rooted in a traditional Chinese architectural philosophy, connecting individual spaces through a central courtyard. The result is a terminal where passengers are never more than an 8-minute walk from their boarding gate, despite the enormous scale. Think about that. A building the size of 97 football pitches, and you are never more than 8 minutes from your gate. 5 concourses spread out over 1 kilometer from end to end. Yet the hub design means you never feel lost. Every wing connects back to the central core in a seamless flow of space and light. It is not just engineering, it is art. Why did China spend $11.5 billion to build an entirely new airport in open countryside south of Beijing? The answer is growth. Beijing Capital International Airport, the existing airport to the northeast, was one of the busiest in the world. By the mid-2000s, it was operating well beyond capacity. Beijing Daxing was developed to alleviate that congestion by redirecting travelers to an entirely new transportation hub. When it opened in 2019, it was expected to serve 45 million passengers per year immediately, growing to 72 million by 2025 and eventually reaching 100 million, which would make it one of the busiest airports on Earth. For comparison, Heathrow Airport in London, one of the world's busiest, handles around 80 million passengers per year. Beijing is building airports that will exceed that. Not one of them, two of them, in the same city. King Fahd International Airport and Beijing Daxing International Airport tell very different stories. King Fahd tells the story of oil wealth and strategic planning, of a nation that built for the future long before the future arrived, that used its airport as a military base during a war that changed the Middle East, and that now sits quietly in the desert, technically the largest airport in the world, using just 5% of its land. A monument to ambition on a scale that is hard to comprehend. Beijing Daxing tells a different story. The story of a nation that looked at its transportation needs, set a deadline tied to a national anniversary, mobilized 40,000 workers, and delivered the most architecturally extraordinary airport terminal ever built, on time, on scale, and open for business. Both airports are records, both are extraordinary, but they represent something deeper than aviation. They represent how nations build, what they prioritize, and how they want the world to see them. A city of empty runways in a Saudi desert, a starfish of light and glass in the fields south of Beijing. Two records. One question: which one is truly the world's greatest airport? If you found this fascinating, subscribe to Big Things Explained for weekly deep dives into the biggest systems, structures, and stories in the modern world. And if you want to see how the world's tallest building was constructed floor by floor, that video is right here. We will see you in the next one.